Hi and welcome to video 12 of the Gatsby JS course. We're nearly at the stage to start thinking about hooking contentful up, but before we do, let's get the outstanding pages of our website styled up. If we look inside our code editor, we can see in our pages directory, we have blog, content, about, and our homepage. For the about and contact, we're just going to put a small piece of placeholder text in, as we don't actually have these in the designs, and just give everything a little spruce up. For the blog page, we're going to do a little bit more. For this one, if we go to the blog in our designs, we need to add the header and subtitle, similar to the home page, and add the social media icons. Luckily, we made that into a component in the last video. Once that's done, we can create our blog listings grid, which is displayed underneath here. The only page we will be leaving out for now is the actual article page, so that's this page, as we'll get to this page when we start to plug contentful in. So first of all, let's go back to our VS Code project and get it running with npm start. And let's start to style up the contact page. As I said earlier, this is going to be a super simple page for now, so we can just add a title, subtitle, and a link to our email for now. So if I just have a look at how we did it in our index, we can probably copy a very similar style. So we use prefix, title, and subtitle. I think we might make these global styles, as we can use that exact same thing. So let's copy that H1 and the subtitle, and we'll put that inside our contact page. So we'll return back brackets and a fragment for now. Got them the wrong way around, and we'll cut them and paste them inside the fragment. And at the top, we will just write contact. And then here we'll put get in touch with me. And then underneath that, we'll just throw an email link in there for now. Obviously, you could start using the font awesome icons that we've already included in other pages and put like an email icon next to this if you want, by just shoving the font awesome icon component in there. But for now, I'm just going to put it in as a standard p tag. It won't look great, but so give that a save. Let's open localhost 8000. Go to our contact page. So our contact page has them stars in. They're not exactly mirroring the home page yet, as we need to copy them rules into the global. So if we go back into our index, for now we'll go up to where they are. So that's hero, title, and hero subtitle. Hero, title, and subtitle. And we'll take them. We'll go to our source, components, theme.js. I think inside here we have our global styles. Yes, we do. So inside there, just underneath our container for now, we'll add them in. We can remove the prefix off there as we're not using that globally. Give that a save. And inside our index, we can give that a clean up now, so we can move the hero title and take the hero subtitle off that. So now our home page should look exactly the same. Let's refresh it just in case. Yep. And our contact page should also look the same. Lovely. So now let's center that and put it inside the container. So back to our contact page. Actually, let's quickly check in our index how we do the container. So for the container, we just throw a class on. We're not actually using the container here. What component do we use it in? If we go to our recent post component, just check how we use a container. Yep, just a simple div with container. So if I copy that, go back to our contact page, and we can just put that div straight in at the top. Didn't quite work out how I wanted to close that. Give that a save, just check back here. Nice, nearly there now. So the last thing I'm going to do is create, I think we actually made a utility class for centering text. Let's check that. So if we go back to our theme, global styles. No, we haven't. So let's add another style rule in here. I'm just going to close these just so it's a bit easier to see. Hero title, hero subtitle. We'll add a text center, and we'll literally just set the text align of that to be center. So now we've added that text center class, we can copy the rule, and we can go back to our contact page, And we'll just apply that on with the container as well. And now we don't have to create a whole new style component rule just for that. Lovely. So it's very simple. You'd probably want to style this further, maybe add some images in there, maybe add some icons or other ways of contacting you, such as Twitter or LinkedIn. But for now, this will do. So now let's do a similar thing for our About section. So I think I'm literally just going to copy this component, go to our About, we'll paste that in and call it About page. And in the contact, we'll replace with About. In here, I'll put All About Me. And then in here, you could put as much as you want. So you might put skills. I am skilled in JavaScript, React, and Gatsby JS. And you can obviously write as much as you want in here. Check all the margins are working, the containers there. Lovely. So now, last but not least, the blog page. This one's a little bit more complex as we're using some more components. So if we just have a quick peek at the design again, go to our blog section. We have the title, the subtitle, and the link icons. So first, let's get them in. This one should be pretty simple as it's pretty much a mirror of what we've just created for the other pages. So I'm just going to close everything for now. Open up the blog page. We're going to go multi-line, so we'll return a multi-line component. And again, we're returning container, aligning the text center. I think it said the blog, so we want to write the blog in here. The subtitle said, what are we talking about today? So just copy that, throw that in there. Then we have our social icons, and we already made this into a component. What did we call that component? We did. We called it social icons. So that's just auto imported for me there with a typo. Give that a save and let's see how it looks. Amazing. So we're really lucky with this as we've already made this component that this looks pretty much like the design straight away. What we do need is a bit of spacing at the top. So let's import styled components and create styles for this page. And we'll just create a wrapper for the entire page for now. So we'll call it blog page styles. And that's just going to be equal to a styled div. Getting all my capitals wrong today. Lovely. So here we want to say our H1 is going to have margin top, say 5 rem. It's a guesswork thing, but don't forget to put that rule in the page. Put all the content inside of it. Now for our H1, we should have 5 rems at the top. Perfect. It might not be bang on what we wanted, but it's near enough for now. Next thing we need is, we're going to need space at the bottom actually. So rather than putting it on the H1, let's wrap this inside a class of header. Call it header sections to be a bit more specific. Actually, blog page header. We say margin top 5 rem. Say margin bottom. I think it's probably very similar to be honest. Yeah, about 5 rem each side. Go back to Chrome, refresh, and just hover over this and check. Yep, that's applied to the top and bottom. So now we've got that in there. We need to get our blog post components in. So we did create a component for this earlier on, but this is slightly a bit different as they're left aligned and it's going to display all of them, not just the 2. So rather than doing it using that old component we did, we're going to create it inside this page. What we can do, however, is copy our query from the other page to get the images. So if we go to our recent post component, and we'll just copy that query here to get our images. Again, these will be coming from Contentful, so we won't have these queries all over the site forever. And this is a page level component, so unlike the recent post component, we don't need to use a static query. We do it at the bottom of the page. So here we'll say const query, export const query. And we want to equal that to GraphQL, throw in some backticks, and write our query in here. GraphQL, and we need to import GraphQL from Gatsby. So it's a named export, so we want to do import open curly brackets, GraphQL from Gatsby. Give that a save. It's just changing the order because of ESLint, and now this should not be an error. So now we've got that. Let's import our data from that component, and we'll just console log that out and check we are actually getting that data in the page. Let's go back to our page, go to our console, zoom that in for everyone, clear that out, and we'll refresh it. So that error is just because there's no 404 page yet, but we'll be creating that eventually. And underneath here are our images. Nice. So let's start fleshing out this actual component. It isn't actually a very complicated component. We have the image line to the left, and then we have a title, date and read time, and the description. When we get to pulling this from Contentful, we'll probably just get the first so many characters of an article and display them, so we don't have to manually add a description field. So back to VS Code, and I'll make this a new component in style components just because it could end up getting quite a bit on the blog page styles. So we'll call it blog items. We'll just call it blog item styles. We want to set that equal to style.div. And we know that each one is going to take up a full width of the page, and we're going to have, I guess, around 1 or 2 rem of space between them. So let's just set this to display grid, and we'll set the grid gap to be 2 rem. Copy that styles, and inside our container still, paste that straight in. So now in here we can have our items. So we'll just make one, and when we've finished one, we'll duplicate it for the second one. We're going to need to import Gatsby image as we're using them images. So we import image from Gatsby, and then it's Gatsby-image. Oh, it's just auto closed my tag when I saved. So in here we're going to say image, and the fluid, as the images underneath are fluids. We'll just set this equal to the first one. So again, we could write the whole thing out. We could do data.gatsbyimage.childimage_sharp.fluid, but that is a mouthful every time. So let's go back to our recent post component, and we'll copy the destructor line out just to get them top level things. Copy that, go back to here, and we say const Gatsby image and view image is equal to data. So it only saves us 1 level of nesting, but it's just a little bit nicer. So Gatsby image dot child image sharp dot fluid. Give that a save. Go back to our component and check we have that image. Perfect, we do. Obviously it's way too large, but it's working. So for now, let's start with mobile styles. And on mobile, similar to other pages, we'll stack this. So rather than it being to the left and right, we'll put it underneath like that. So let's do that. So if we go back to the component, I'm just going to copy everything from here. So creating a Gatsby JS website from scratch. That's our title. So we'll fire that into there. Then we want our read time and date. Copy that out. Go back and add another p tag. And then last but not least, our article description or excerpt. It'll just be the first so many characters of the full article. And we'll paste that in. So now that's in there, let's have a look at our first one. Nice. We don't want this to be centered like our title. So what we can do is just move that text center off the entire container, and we'll just shove it onto the header. Go back and check that. That's much better. So now that's left aligned. Now we just need to get the sizings right for all the copy. So the header is the biggest, and then these look like they're the same size. Maybe it's a tiny bit small. So this will be the largest piece of text at 22 pixels. This is 14 pixels, and this is 16 pixels. So if we go back to our component. We'll add a class name onto each, so class name. We'll set that equal to, this is a blog item, so we'll call it blog-item __ title. Again, this is the BEM CSS syntax. I'll leave a link for that in the description. But it's just a way of organizing your name in CSS. So blog title, blog date time. Actually, we'll call it blog item __ date - read, just for date and read time. And this last one we'll call date description. Give that a save for the formatting, and then we'll copy each one of these and add it into our blog item styles rules. So we called it date read. Not sure I quite like that name, but for now it will do. And description. So the first one, font size, it was around 22 pixels, so let's say 1.5 rem. See what that looks like. The date read was a little bit smaller than the default font size of 1 rem, so we'll do 0.9 rem for that. And blog item description is 1 rem, so we'll just leave that blank for now and see how we're looking. Nice, we're looking a little bit better here. We're a little bit bolder than our design, but obviously we're using a different font here. So in the design, I think we're using Montserrat. Just check that. Yeah, in the design we're using Montserrat, but in ours we're using Source Sans Pro. So let's just in the inspector inspect that title and see what will look like with a different weight. So we'll test out a weight of 300, and I actually think that looks quite nice. So we'll go for the font weight 300. So let's go back to here. Say font weight 300. Let's give that a save and check. Yep, that's looking nice. And I actually don't think we need to change this anymore. One thing we do need to do is wrap all 3 of them p tags into a div. And the reason they're all getting wrapped into a div is because when we scale it up to desktop size, we're going to align the image to the left and the text content to the right. So this is just an easier way of saying these 2 categories rather than trying to group the 3 p tags up. Now we've got that, let's also add a class to this, as we're going to start targeting that as we scale up to tablet. And rather than blog items, we'll just call it blog item. Give that a save. So now let's scale up our screen. Lovely. So we can start experimenting in here. So what I tend to do is I don't tend to write the CSS straight away in VS Code. If I don't know what I'm going to be doing yet or how I'm going to be doing it, I'll come into the inspector, click on what I want to be editing. See here we've got the blog item, and then I'll just start manually writing in the element styles. So here I'll write display grid. It's just a bit of experimentation really. I'll write grid template columns. And I can't remember how wide the design was, but let's split it evenly for now with 1FR, 1FR. So we're already making progress here. We have got it to the left and right. If we look at the design now, you see the image is 450 pixels wide. I think on tablet that would be way too wide, but on desktop we can do that. So let's go and assume we're at the desktop at the moment and say 450 pixels and 1FR. And 1FR is obviously the remaining space, so this will only take 450 pixels of width. That'll take the rest of the paging width. Now we need to add the grid gap. So add a grid gap of 2 rem. I think 2 rem is a bit too much actually. We'll go 1.5. Nice. So now I've done that, I can copy this and paste that into the VS Code one. And that's usually how I tend to work. It's never usually right straight in there because it's just a bit longer jumping back and forth. So that is on a new one. That's on blog item. And it is only from 768 pixels wide. So I've just added a min width rule in there. Give that a refresh. One thing you do have to do is if you're manually writing in the rules into the element style, you go back to VS Code and edit it in there. Then when you come back, you may have to refresh it sometimes because it will put your styles in, but it will leave yours in the element styles, meaning it can be overwritten quite easily. So just give it a refresh just for sanity. If we just scale this down just to check how it looks on, oh, there we go. So obviously on tablet, it's a little bit problematic. It's way too wide. So we'll scale this up and say this is for 1200 pixels and above. I just duplicated it there so we can also create a rule for tablet. 768 is the traditional tablet size. So it's way too wide on tablet. So what we'll do is say we want this to be 250 pixels on tablet. Just have a look at it now. That's a little bit nicer. So 250 pixels on tablet, and then when we get to 1200 pixels, if I just scale this out, 1200 pixels, there we go. We then jump up to the 450 pixel mark, so that is looking quite nice. There's a little bit of extra space on that first P tag, so let's just decrease it in our inspector, and then we can duplicate that over into VS Code. So on the blog item title, we'll say margin bottom, just put it to 1 rem. See, yeah, that's looking a little bit better. So margin bottom 1 rem, and we want that to be on our blog item title, and also that can be on mobile. Looking back at this, we'll actually take the margin off the top of this as well and center all this content inside that block. So if we go back to here, copy the margin bottom rule, just say margin top 0. So now it should be pushed right against the top of that. We actually only want this on desktop. So we'll go at media, min width, 768 pixels. We want this to be centered basically when the grid starts splitting into 2 halves, so from 768 pixels. Because on mobile, we don't want it to be touching the image. So if we go down to mobile, see we've got a space, go up to tablet, we're now touching the top. Now we've got all that built, we can try and center these items. So what I'm going to do for the sake of making this easier is copy them P tags, place them inside another div, give this one a class name of blog item text, put that rule in here. I think we can actually remove this description rule as it's not being used and I can't see us using it going forward, so let's just delete that so there's not unused classes. And then on that blog item text, which is wrapping all the P's inside another div, we'll set that to display grid, and then we want to align all the items centrally. Absolutely perfect. And I think we're a little bit closer to the bottom, and I think, yeah, it's because that description P tag has a margin at the bottom. So ignore what I just said and deleting that. We're going to have to create it to remove the margin off it. So blog items text, move text and call it description, say margin bottom 0. And then we will copy that and we'll put it back on to the description text. There we go. Now it is actually central. So now we've got one of them in there. Let's copy our second one. So we're going to copy this component, this whole blog item, paste it underneath the existing one, and then we want to get our other content. So taking our first steps into Vue.js, our date and read time, copy that one, paste it into the date read, and last but not least, description. So replace our old description, give that a save. Oh, don't forget to change our image, so it's view image. I think it's just IMG. Let's just check at the bottom. View image. Yep. Save that one. Go back, and now we have both of our blog posts matching the design. Now we have most of our pages built, we're ready to start integrating with Contentful. So join me in the next video as I show you how to set up a free Contentful account and build out your first templates for your Gatsby website. If you've liked the course so far, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.